What's up everyone, Criddle here, and in this video we're going to go over the Shadow Knight class and Monsters and Memories. We will cover how I would build the class and stat priority, the Shadow Knight's role in a group, how well the Shadow Knight can solo, and finally take a look at some of the skills and abilities. The Shadow Knight is primarily a tank with some fighter abilities as well as necromancer spells. The Shadow Knight is one of the more offensive based tanks, but does have a fair share of defensive abilities and unique auras differentiating it from other tanks. Shadow Knights can be Goblin, Human, or Ogre, and I suspect Deep Elf and Trolls in the future. As for stats, the Shadow Knight needs several. Strength and Dexterity increase physical damage dealt and hit chance respectively, both of which are needed to keep threat, and as a tank that is their main job other than not dying. Speaking of not dying, Stamina increases their max health, while Agility helps with their dodge, block, and parry skills, making these also very beneficial. Finally, Shadow Knights use Intelligence, which is their primary stat to increase their mana pool. As their primary role is that of a tank, I would max out both Stamina and Agility first, leaving 2 points left for Strength or Dexterity. Both of these are solid options, but I believe Strength is the better choice and would cap it as well. For the major combat trait, any of the above stats would be useful, and if Ogre is my race, Ogre Smash, which is a 2-second stun, could also be an option. We also must consider that the major combat trait's active ability will take up an ability slot which is limited to 10, and Shadow Knights do have a lot of abilities and spells to choose from already. Because of that, and the long recast timer of the major combat trait, I don't feel Ogre Smash outweighs the benefits of the other stats. I would choose Brawn for the added damage, or either Fortitude or Agile for the added survivability. Overall, I feel Agile or Fortitude would be most beneficial in the long run. For minor combat trait, the Shadow Knight has a lot of options as it uses almost every skill in the game. The main benefit of the minor combat trait is that it increases a skill 25% faster. Again, as primarily a tank class, this helps rule out several options as they will be using them often, keeping them capped easily. These include basic combat traits like Warrior and Defender, as well as weapon skills like Bludgeoner, Cutthroat, and Swordsman. While it would be difficult to keep all of the weapon skills max, you only need one at a time based on the best weapon you have. As for casting skills, Abjuration and Divination are mostly used for buffs and more often than not cast out of combat, making fizzles less impactful. Alteration is mostly used for healing, while Conjuration and Evocation are used for dots and direct damage. As Shadow Knights will be casting these spells often, they shouldn't have an issue keeping them max, except Evocation, which is limited to direct damage spells, and for Shadow Knights, these are mostly targeted towards undead. It could be an option if you wanted to keep it capped, as you may not use it as often. Channeling is definitely an option as it helps prevent interrupts when you take damage while casting, and normally do not receive this skill until level 8, making those first few levels a bit easier. I will say, however, that channeling can skill up with any cast, so once you have it, it should cap easily. The final trait is Shieldman, which is what I would choose so that I could switch to two-handed weapons for the added damage, but also switch to shield when I need the extra defense, and this would help me keep it capped so I wouldn't need to use it as often. Major combat trait is generally the same for every class, and I would choose Master Artisan if I plan to do trade skills or forage for the free food and water. Fast and slow metabolism, in my opinion, are not worth it as food is fairly cheap and easy to obtain, and currently Endurance doesn't do much other than allow you to jump a few extra times. As for Iron Lungs, it is easily replaced with the Endure Breath spell. While Infravision and Ultravision can be nice for seeing in the dark, you can also use light sources or adjust your monitor to compensate. And finally, we have the minor non-combat trait, which is up to you. Choose whichever trait you want based on the skill you want to level, and if you want to level several, find whichever one would be the most difficult for the extra 5% chance to skill up. As for skills, Shadow Knight starts off with all the basic combat and casting skills needed, including dodge, block, and parry. I would put a point into each of these once I have a bit of copper if they haven't started the level already, as the first point can sometimes prove difficult. At level 8, they unlock the Channeling and Meditation, which increases mana while sitting, and finally at level 20, Double Attack. Again, I would return to your trainer each of these levels and put 1 point into them to get them started. For abilities, Shadow Knights have everything they need to tank, which includes things like Slam for added damage, Taunt to maintain threat, and Kick to interrupt spellcasters. In addition to those, they have a big damage ability that cannot be resisted called Grip of Agony that gets more powerful as the Shadow Knight levels. They also have a stance which reduces physical damage received by 5%, as well as an ability to reduce magical damage by 40% for 30 seconds. Finally, for abilities, the Shadow Knight has 2 unique auras. The first is Vampirism, which gives the entire party a chance to life leech from their target on their main hand attacks, and the second is Unholy, which gives the party attack speed and health regeneration. Moving on to spells, the Shadow Knight receives many from the Necromancer class, although several levels later. These include Cold and Holy Protection spells, Life Drains, Fears, and Dots or Damage Over Time spells. They also receive the same pets as the Necromancer, allowing them to summon minions like skeletons and ghouls to fight alongside them. Pets are especially useful for the Shadow Knight as they can sacrifice their pet to gain a large protective barrier to absorb incoming damage. And finally, the last two I want to call out are Feigned Death, which can be helpful for pulling or just when you want to take a break, and Summon Corpse when you inevitably meet your doom deep in a dungeon with no way to get your body back. Overall, the Shadow Knight has strong defensive abilities with even more offensive potential, making them great choices for a party tank. Their aura of vampirism and life taps also give them great self-sustain, making them better than average soloers for a tank. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed the content or found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and follow for more. Also, be sure to tune into my Twitch streams where we'll be playing and chatting about Monsters and Memories as well as many other games. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!